Well, good Thursday afternoon, everyone. It is digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, where I take you through some of 48's top stories and then some, as well as preview what's coming up in our evening newscasts. If you're watching right now, whether on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream page on our digital app or website, you are so awesome. Thank you for watching and spending a little of your Thursday afternoon with me here on Before the Four. What is your favorite breakfast food? That is today's 48 Facebook question of the day. And you all had some really great responses. I certainly agreed with very many of those. One in particular, but we'll get to that. Make sure you stick around for the end of today's Before the Four so I can show off what some of you had to say. Also, this is of course an interactive live stream, which of course means if you'd like to leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube, feel free. I can see so if you do right here. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into today's top stories. And starting things off in the Shoals, where there was a motion hearing in the case of Deborah Catledge. Now, this happened yesterday. Catledge is currently charged with dozens of animal cruelty misdemeanors and 8 felonies after authorities found 29 dead horses and 45 malnourished dogs on her property. The defense argued yesterday that authorities did not execute a proper search warrant on her property and that much of the evidence should be thrown out of the case. After a day in court, however, the judge siding with the prosecution, allowing the evidence. 48's Aria Pons was there in court all day yesterday, and she will continue reporting on the situation when we learn more. Now, staying in the Shoals, where the Tennessee Valley Authority is currently considering a 5% hike rate, and other area utility companies have told us that this hike rate will affect customers. Aria Pons will be bringing you details on the TVA hike rate coming up at 4. In Gunnersville, where 48 Savannah Sapp is today, Savannah will be reporting on a man accused of killing 2 teens back in 2021 at a Taco Bell on trial. 26-year-old Kenav Williams is charged with capital murder after authorities say he killed 19-year-old Elias Lopez and 17-year-old Enrique Alvarado in the parking lot of the Taco Bell. Today is the second day of the trial, and make sure to stick around for tonight's newscast for any updates Savannah might have regarding this case. And of course, in Morgan County, new details emerging in the Frederick Rogers trial. Rogers, along with John Michael Legg, are currently charged with murdering 7 at a home in Valormerso Springs. 48's Daquan Lee is in court today, and he'll have updates for you all coming up. Now, another story out of Triana. In case you missed it, a heavy police presence yesterday afternoon on Zert Road in Triana due to a standoff with authorities. 48's Nick Ballinger has the details.
It was here at this house on Zert Road in Triana where it all happened. The plan, serve a search warrant and get out, but that led to a 7-hour standoff. After a day of the SWAT team, smoke bombs, and police cars for this Triana neighborhood, a man is in custody. Madison County deputies served a search warrant for who neighbors tell me is Trayvon Lott around noon. The reason for the warrant hasn't been released, but after Lott refused to come out for hours, it turned into a standoff.
They went in and checked my attic, and I sat across the street with the manager and I watched.
Renzi Price shares a wall in the duplex next to Lott. Price says Lott doesn't even live there. His girlfriend does.
Well, I come out with my hands in there. But we're not arresting you. We just need you to come out. I didn't know what was going on.
What looked like smoke bombs or tear gas filled the home and even affected neighbors 300 yards away. U.S. Marshals told Lott on a megaphone, quote, "Think about your children. We know you need medical attention," end quote. But that still didn't bring him out, so they went in.
Yeah, that apartment is torn up. I mean, they snatched the windows out.
No one appeared to be injured as they carried Lott out of the home and took him away in an ambulance. But Price tells me he's not happy at all.
The housing authority needs to do more to make sure that these thugs and criminals are not living on these properties.
Price tells me his power is still out from when they turned it off earlier in the day. Now, as for details on what that search warrant was actually for, we will bring you the latest information as soon as we have it. Nick Ballinger, 48 News, on your side.
Well, thank you, Nick. And speaking of crime, today is Thursday, which of course means it is time for Crime Stoppers. Let's see who 48's Gina Benitez and Huntsville Police need your help stopping this week.
This week, we have several people wanted on drug charges and a couple of accused thieves on the list. Those two are charged with stealing quite a bit. If you know where any of them are, call Huntsville Police.
Take a look at Jalen Artis. She's accused of making more than $2,800 worth of fraudulent charges to a credit card. Heather Allen, meanwhile, is wanted for trafficking fentanyl into the area. Police want to bring in DeVicchio Good for cocaine possession. Christopher Palmer is accused of skip scanning multiple items from a local Walmart 11 different times. And police say Austin Markham is wanted for fentanyl possession. It's easy to earn up to $1,000 if you recognize any of the people we just showed you or know where they are. Just call 256-53-CRIME. You can also text or email your tips. For more information, visit the Crime Stoppers link on our website, WAFF.com.
Well, thank you, Gina. Now in Decatur, where authorities have arrested one they say was connected to a shooting that injured a man last night. Decatur police say 32-year-old Takaya Stover was arrested early this morning and charged with domestic violence. She was booked into the Morgan County Jail where she remains. Just after 5 p.m. yesterday, police say officers were called to Blossomwood Apartments in Decatur after hearing reports of the shooting. And in Boaz, a man will go to trial for the murder of another man who disappeared 2 years ago. Christopher Strassner, who you are currently seeing on screen here, was arrested back in 2022 after human remains were found in Blount County. Those remains were later identified as James Tracy Denson. Denson had been reported missing from Gunnersville several weeks earlier. A grand jury indicted Strassner on July 31st. He has been in the Marshall County Jail on a $1 million bond since his arrest 2 years ago. He's expected to be arraigned on November 4th. And in Scottsboro, where a woman recently pled guilty to second-degree rape, Casey Stone, who you are currently seeing on screen, was sentenced to 180 months in Marshall County, but her sentence will only require her to serve 5 years on probation. However, if she commits any other crime during that time, she will have to serve 180 months behind bars. In Jackson County, she received the same sentence. These sentences will be served at the same time. Stone was previously accused of sending inappropriate photos and videos to minors in Marshall County just last year. And now in a little bit of national news before we head to weather here in the Tennessee Valley. Stick around for 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis. But let's head into some national news. And yes, of course, Tim Walz is currently serving his second term as governor of Minnesota. And overnight, he had a chance to introduce himself and his family to a national audience. NBC's Tom Llamas with more.
Governor Tim Walz.
Overnight, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz walking onto the biggest stage of his political life. The 60-year-old accepting the Democratic nomination for vice president and introducing himself to voters across the country.
We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country.
Walz embracing his rural upbringing, which he says helped to shape his values.
That family down the road, they may not think like you do. They may not pray like you do. They may not love like you do. But they're your neighbors. And you look out for them, and they look out for you.
Born in Nebraska, Walz enlisted in the National Guard at 17, serving for more than 2 decades. During that time, he also taught social studies in high school and coached football. Last night, some of his former players showing their support. His wife, Gwen, a teacher at the same school.
One of the things that prepared me most for life in politics was being married to a Nebraska football coach.
The couple who moved to Minnesota in the 90s have 2 children, Hope and Gus.
Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you.
His family emotional, especially his 17-year-old son, Gus, who Walz told People magazine has learning disabilities. Both Gus and his older sister, Hope, making cameos in their dad's social media posts.
Then we're going to go get some food, corn dog.
I'm vegetarian.
Turkey then. And
Turkey's meat.
Not in Minnesota.
Democrats, including former President Obama, calling Walz as warm and authentic as his favorite article of clothing.
You can tell those flannel shirts he wears don't come from some political consultant. They come from his closet, and they have been through some stuff.
Walz bringing what many online are calling Midwest dad energy to the campaign.
Like I have white guy tacos and
what is
like
that,
black,
like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and,
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
A former student told me Walz showed his character when he became the faculty advisor for the school's first LGBTQ student group.
Tim is out of central casting when it comes to a good and decent person.
But all of the attention has also brought scrutiny, with the Trump campaign accusing Walz of exaggerating aspects of his life story, saying he lied about his family's experience with IVF. The couple used a different fertility treatment, saying Republicans are plain semantics. The Trump team also seizing on this comment he made in reference to his military experience.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
The campaign later clarifying Walz never saw combat and simply misspoke. Now, the former football coach highlighting the urgency of this campaign.
It's the 4th quarter. We're down a field goal, but we're on offense and we've got the ball.
Well, thank you, Tom. And on the other side of the political aisle, former President Trump is heading to Arizona today for a border visit in the battleground state. It comes amid his first outdoor rally since the attempt on his life, and reports that he secured a key endorsement from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. NBC's Garrett Hake with the details.
Comrade Harris, you're fired.
Shielded behind bullet-resistant glass with snipers in place, former President Trump holding his first outdoor campaign event since the assassination attempt last month, mocking what he said was Democrats' overwhelming focus on him at their convention.
We've driven them crazy. They have Trump derangement syndrome.
And taking special notice of former President Obama's remarks.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
Did you see Barack Hussein Obama last night? Take little shots. He was taking shots at your president, and so was Michelle. You know, they always say, sure, please stick to policy, don't get personal. And yet they're getting personal all night long, these people.
Trump again sowing doubts about the 2024 election results after years of false claims of a stolen 2020 election.
Our primary focus is not to get out the vote, it's to make sure they don't cheat. Because we have all the votes you need.
It comes as Mr. Trump visits Arizona for 2 campaign stops over the next 2 days. A border visit today is meant to highlight his immigration and deportation policies. And a rally on Friday, which will follow an event from independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who 2 sources tell NBC News plans to suspend his campaign and endorse the former president. Trump running mate Senator J.D. Vance welcoming the news.
The most famous name in American politics, Democrat or Republican, is the Kennedy name.
Trump's son, Don Jr., suggesting Kennedy, an anti-vaxxer who has long touted conspiracy theories, could have a key role in his father's administration.
I love the idea of, giving him, some sort of role in some sort of, major 3-letter entity or whatever it may be, and let him blow it up.
But when asked about that prospect, Kennedy's cousin, Jack Schlossberg, who is John F. Kennedy's grandson, telling our Peter Alexander,
I wouldn't be surprised if he was working for President Trump at some point.
Why?
Or in the past. Well, I think it's clear that their interests align.
Well, thank you, Garrett. Now let's talk about the weather here in North Alabama. 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis has you covered. Brad?
Yeah, AJ, two big stories as we go into the weekend is the drought and the heat, and they're both related. We've got a few showers out there today down in Coleman and near Grant in Marshall County, but it's just not enough, and we mentioned this possibility out there. And then the temperature outlook, again, this is next week on into Labor Day weekend. So we've got a real mess out there. Usually we kind of go through this flip-flopping pattern with Mother Nature. The drought monitor out today, pretty much showing severe drought conditions returning in Lauderdale and Colbert County out towards Florence, but a real sharp cutoff as you get into Albertville, Gunnersville, Marshall County, where we had the strong to severe storms and very heavy rain last week. I have a feeling we're going to get into the extreme category by next Thursday in the Shoals, because we're not going to see any rain there between now and then. As I mentioned, we've got a few areas of showers today, but the heat's going to become the big story. Those showers down here in Coleman County towards Smith Lake, at least it's nice to see a little bit of rain on the radar because we don't have a lot in the forecast. Over the next few days, Friday we start to heat back up, but I still think we keep the low humidity. So the mornings, the evenings, they're going to be very comfortable out there. As far as rain chances, I mentioned there's just not much going on out there. High pressure's coming in, so we've got 0% across the board. And typically about this time of year, we look for the tropics to set aside some rain for us, but the tropics are quiet too. One other thing you're noticing, the sunset times are getting earlier and earlier. And today, we kind of reached the point where we're losing 2 minutes, I should say, 2 minutes of daylight per day. Here's your 10-day forecast. You can see the extreme heat coming. We may be going to the 48 first alert weather day for Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So very hot leading up to Labor Day weekend. Speaking of Labor Day weekend, we could see the pattern break then, a little more humidity with a few more showers and storms. Back to you, AJ.
Well, that is certainly good to know. Thank you, Brad. In a little state news, nearly 24 firefighters with the Alabama Forestry Commission are all set to head out west to help battle wildfires in the Pacific Northwest. WSFA's Julia Avant with the details.
For 14 days, 23 firefighters from the Alabama Forestry Commission put out several fires burning on the other side of the country.
Right now, we're not experiencing a large number of wildfires statewide, so we had firefighters who were able to go out.
And so it didn't take very long. I jumped on the opportunity.
Greg Brewer's job was to secure the source of water to put out the fire and extinguish some flames too.
Not get that magnitude of fires, and it did initially intimidate you to have a 20,000, 30,000 acre fire.
The severity of the fires out west happen once in a blue moon here in Alabama, but the opportunity to respond prepares our firefighters. So when an incident like that happens here, we are ready.
Allows our firefighters to gain experience in other environments outside the state of Alabama, which can be applied throughout the state because we have so many geographical challenges, whether you look at it from north to south, east to west.
We want to be good neighbors to our neighboring states. Last year we sent folks to Mississippi, so we wanted to help them, and there's going to be a time where Alabama's going to need some help.
Julia Avant, WSFA 12 News.
Well, thank you, Julia. Hopefully that situation can certainly be resolved as quickly as possible. Well, yesterday was National Fentanyl Awareness Day, and WTVY and Dothan brings you an incredible story of two former drug addicts turning their lives around to help others who are struggling. WTVY has this story.
The CDC says abuse is a leading cause of death in the U.S.
These days, like fentanyl is in basically every drug that there is, so it's a lot more scary than it used to be.
And the issue isn't going anywhere without our help. That's why people like Vanessa Phelps, Brandon Atchison, and Felicia Chambers are there to help people at their worst.
Oxford House, we provide a safe, stable living environment for people who want to recover.
What we do in my organization is we try to give back to those in need that are trying to recover. If they may need emotional support, or they may need financial assistance, transportation.
They understand the struggle because they've lived the life of addiction.
With addiction comes a lot of lying, a lot of scheming, a lot of hustling people, and so even family gets tired.
For Felicia, she has always had someone stand by her side.
I had this one brother, no matter what I did wrong, he just never would give up on me.
Now she wants to be that person for someone else.
I can see why I had to go through what I had to go through, because I had to be molded and I had to be shaped in order to be able to translate everything that I went through to the people that are going through it today.
These people are setting examples.
I never thought that I could come out of where I was at after a 20-year drug addiction. That always gives people hope to see that they can also to work their way out of it.
While always staying a step ahead of addiction. In Dothan, Jamel Johnson, your hometown news leader.
Well, thank you, Jamel. Now in sports, y'all. First, you got to take a look at this. Watch.
Coming this fall, a new series from WAFF 48 Sports.
High school football is not just about the football team. It is about a community.
Watch as we give you exclusive week-to-week access to one area team's road to the playoffs.
I'm a senior, time's almost up.
You know, it's the last ride, like, this is it.
We're all tasked with this. Leave it better than you found it.
Beyond the Lights, Athens.
Yes, that is right. The very first episode of 48 Blitz Beyond the Lights is happening tonight, where you are watching right now, where you're watching before the 4. So whether that is YouTube, Facebook, or the 48 Now live stream page on our website or digital app, that is where you can watch it tonight. 48 Sports will be bringing you all weekly episodes from the Athens Golden Eagles high school football team throughout the entire season. I am certainly super excited about it, and I hope you are as well. First episode will be streamed tonight starting at 7:30 after a 10-minute high school football report from 48's Cam Durr. You're definitely going to want to stick around for that. And of course, speaking of things you're just not going to want to miss, let's now head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscast. The latest on the Huntsville-Brownsbury Road project, the state of the drought. You heard Brad touch on that a little bit. The drought that's currently going on in the Tennessee Valley. 48's Callie Neese will be bringing you that story coming up at 4:30. A tour of a new election administration building opening here in Huntsville. 48's Liz Hurley will be bringing you that story. Of course, Governor Ivey making a trip to Athens today. And of course, a wild story of a toddler getting served alcohol in a restaurant. These are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscasts. Now, I believe, yep, it's just about that time. It is time for Facebook fun. Let's just go ahead and pull up today's 48 Facebook question. And if you were watching from the very beginning, I already stated the question, but you can see it on screen now. What's your favorite breakfast food? And mine 100% is a breakfast burrito. I think it was last week I said my favorite food of all time is a burrito in general. So of course my favorite breakfast is going to be a breakfast burrito. But let's see what you all had to say. Robin Stoner said gravy and biscuits. Hey, you cannot go wrong with biscuits and gravy or gravy and biscuits. I mean, it is a classic. It is certainly a Southern classic. And there's just, yeah, it just tastes so good. So that is certainly a great breakfast food to be your favorite breakfast food. Robin, thank you so much for commenting. Nick said breakfast burritos or pancakes. Yes, now we are talking, Nick. Definitely breakfast burrito all day. No matter where it's from, I don't think I've ever had a breakfast burrito where I was like, that is disgusting. Every breakfast burrito I've ever had has been top tier, has been incredible. Nick, you have very good taste. And of course, I got to mention pancakes. Nothing like a good flapjack. That is for sure. But Nick, thank you for commenting. Kimberly also likes pancakes. She gave that pancake emoji right there with the butter and, of course, the syrup on top. Kimberly, thank you for commenting. It seems like pancakes is a pretty popular choice. And Teresa, she said it's a toss-up between the Buc-ee's cinnamon rolls or the Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies. Both of those are very good choices. I think I am going to have to go with the Buc-ee's cinnamon rolls though, than the Little Debbie's. But I do like Little Debbie's oatmeal cream pies. I haven't had those in a few years, but those are also really good. But I'm gonna have to go with the Buc-ee's cinnamon roll. Just anything at Buc-ee's, honestly. And I mean, I'm still not even over last Friday, when Keith Urban performed at the Buc-ee's here in Athens. And yeah, it's a very popular spot. It's always super crowded, but it is always worth it. Teresa, thank you for commenting. You also have very good taste, and nearly everyone who commented today had really good taste. I think another comment said eggs with jalapenos in it, and I mean, that is very creative. But yeah, a lot of very good taste in the comments. But so yeah, if you commented, thank you for commenting. I greatly appreciate it. But that just about does it for today's Before the Four. I want to thank you for, of course, spending a little of your Thursday afternoon with me here on Before the Four. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download that 48 digital app, the 48 First Alert Weather app, and of course the 48 Sport Zone app for any of my local sports fans here in the area. High school football season obviously starting tomorrow, and I am super excited about it. But yes, make sure you download those apps, turn on the push notifications, and you will never miss a breaking story. But of course, I want to thank you for watching one last time, and one more time, I'm gonna thank you for watching. You all have a great night.